Welcome to Chris's Storytelling Corner. This is Christopher Moldong of Chris's Storytelling Corner. Today I'm going to do a movie review for the Filipino movie Kita Kita. Next time I'll have a manga review for Kobato Volumes 5 and 6, a list of top villain pairs in the Batman universe, a movie review of Batman and Harley Quinn, and a journal of the Long Beach Comic Con where I will be cosplaying. I'll have pictures with it too. You can check out my author's website at www.chrismoldong.com. You can buy my first novel, a fantasy adventure called The Mustard Prince in the Condiment Kingdom, for $4.99. Also, for $2.99, you can buy my short story collection, a collection of 10 short stories in the horror, fantasy, and realistic fiction genres. Check out my Twitter page and author's Facebook page. Links to all these will be provided on the description. Don't forget to subscribe, share, and comment to this channel if you're on YouTube, or follow, share, and comment on this channel if you're listening to this on SoundCloud. If you're listening to this on iTunes or Stitcher, please rate, review, and share this channel. So, the way that this is going to work is I'm going to give a recap of the movie Kita Kita. Be warned, there will have spoilers. Okay, so if you haven't seen the movie, it's not recommended that you listen to this recap because there's going to have some huge spoilers here. Okay? After I give the recap of the movie, I'm going to give my thoughts on the movie, the characters, and whatnot. As far as an early, good, great, awesome, or some sort of early critique, I thought this movie was very good. So let's get to the recap. So it stars Leia, or the main character's her name's Leia, and she's a Filipino tourist guide living in Sapporo, Japan, and she's engaged to Nobu, a young Japanese man. One night, after receiving a note to meet up at a beer house, she discovers her fiance Nobu uh, with another Filipino Japanese woman that she knows. Before she just totally vents out her anger, she counts from 1 to 10 and recalls all the memories that she shared with Nobu. She uses the numbers like 1, I did one of these, I did 2 of these, or 2 things happened, or and so on and so on. So she then walks out of the beer house, but she starts to lose her sight before she collapses. Sometime later, she adjusts to life with stress-induced blindness. Tonyo, or, yeah, is it Tonyo? Yeah, her next door neighbor introduces himself to her, and he makes an effort to cook for her and cheer her up, even though she pretty much just rejects him for the first couple times. He finally persuades her to tour with him in and around the city, and as they spend more time together, they fall in love. One night, Leia begins to regain her sight, and for the first time, she sees Tonyo, who then dies after being hit by a vehicle while walking towards her. After his death, Leia visits his home and discovers a letter written for her. She later learns that Tonyo moved from Tokyo to Sapporo, having suffered a broken heart. It's then revealed that Leia has met him early on, actually, and that he was a drunken man who sleeps in front of not in front of Leia's home, but across the street from Leia's home, um, in the neighboring house. And she has actually given him food and stuff like that, like providing him with cabbage and a blanket. He then vows to better himself, pretty much touched by her kindness, and moves to a house right across the street from her. One night, a heartbroken Leia spends time um, with a banana, because it's like this costume thing, because Nobu didn't show up at this like bar, and she didn't know it, but the banana, or the guy dressed as a banana, was Tonyo. He was the one who sent her a note to meet up at a beer house after discovering Nobu's infidelity. And he's the one that carried her home after she collapsed when she lost her eyesight. It's also revealed in the letter that Tonyo was suffering from a heart problem. His heart has been enlarged since he was 9 and was told that it can burst any time and he would die, thus wanting him to do everything for Leia before it happens. Leia's overcome with sadness, and she reminisces moments between her and Tonyo, and she visits all the places that they had been to, and she can now see them. And that's pretty much where it ends. So some thoughts on Kita Kita. The recap was pretty short, and this movie is actually pretty short too. It's not very long. It's roughly, I mean, it is roughly 2 hours. It didn't feel that long at all. Um, Otherwise, even with that being the case, it was short but sweet. You know, like it was a case of this movie where they kind of went around, you know, he dies, and then you go back to his story. He does the count thing, actually. I've got to recap that. And that's in the letter, too. Um, and pretty much that's like the end, you know, and then she kind of visits all the places, and it kind of ends there, but it never feels like, it never truly felt like they could have done that much more with the movie. So, like, you know, it's like, oh, they could have dwelt on this or something like that. It's like, yeah, not really. I thought even though it was short, I thought they did as most as they could, and pretty much covered all the bases. Um, as far as the characters go, there's Leia. She's played by Alessandra de Rossi. I thought she was good. I You know, she was kind of, she had this like sternness about her, so she played the role well, I guess, because of like, you know, she wasn't super fluffy, you know, she wasn't like this like lovesick teenager or something like that. She came across like an adult, a mature adult, and a relatively caring person, you know, until like the blindness hits, and then she becomes bitter at everything. But I thought she played the role real, you know, well enough. Being blind, being mad, kind of just mad at the world, um, rejecting people at first, especially Tonyo. You know, and especially all the bad stuff happening to her. It's kind of understandable why she would be a bit bitter at just everything. I mean, she's blind, you know, and whatnot. Doesn't really talk to anyone except for like her. I think it's her sister or aunt or something like that. I forgot. I think it's her sister. Um, and yeah, so like I said, I thought she did the role well. I thought she, you know, it's the person they needed. You know, if the main character was like too young, it wouldn't really work. You know, you needed someone a little more mature, a little more, you know, has a little more like worldly experience and whatnot. Okay, here's the thing with the movie though. Okay, Tonyo, played by Empoy Marquez. In my personal opinion, he made a decent to good movie into a very good movie. Honest truth. Like, um, one thing about this movie is that there wasn't a lot to it per se. You know, there really aren't that many characters. There's like Leia, Tonyo, Nobu, the girl that you know who's that Nobu ended up with, that he's cheating on Leia with, and then Leia would get a call from her like what sister or aunt or relative, and that's about it as far as characters go. There's only like four characters or so, four or five characters or so. But for the most part, I mean, this whole movie is just Leia and Tonyo. I mean, that's it. You know, they didn't have a lot to work with per se. They go on their date, they go around. There's some very cute moments and whatnot. Obviously, the big thing is he dies in the middle of the movie. Then his story gets played and whatnot. And then at the very end, she gets a C and like sees all the places that they went to. That's it. So one thing about Empoy here, Marquez playing, he's playing Tonyo, is I believe he's a comedian, actor comedian, and he really did a lot with a little. And because of that, I mean, this guy just made the movie, honestly. His body language, the way he'd say things, some of the stuff he said was pretty funny. Um, just the way he'd kind of react, he's kind of childish, but you can't help but get just like, he has a very magnetic personality, you know? I thought he stole the movie. Him, him more than Leia, to be honest with you, because he's just like, every little, like, every scene he's in, every little thing he does, his movements, like I said, he had really good body language, just made the movie. Otherwise, this movie would be a very typical romantic comedy. It would just be good at best. I think he single-handedly made the movie very good. It's a cute movie. They did pretty much all, for what little they really had to work with. He especially did the most with it. So yeah, he just made, honestly, just made the movie. His character, funny guy. Um, like I said, a bit childish, hyper persistent. Um, a good guy, and I'm glad they got to kind of dwell on his story a bit. Um, because he kind of just pops up out of nowhere and just introduces himself, and you're just like, oh, okay, like, cool, it just, he just popped out, and oh no, the last half of the movie, it's like, oh, it's all him, and how, he, like, was attracted to Leia. So that was a really good twist to the story. I really like that. Leia's blindness, it was a device they used. I it was. I I don't know if it made the a difference. I know symbolically, like this whole thing, because they're in Japan and they're Filipinos in Japan, they're supposed to be like these Filipinos in isolation. That's what I read. That's kind of the point of these two, and they kind of find each other, even though they're kind of isolated. Leia says she feels kind of like she's a second class citizen in Japan, as a Filipino in Japan, and well, she kind of hinted at it. I think she said in the Philippines she felt like a first class citizen was what she said. And I suppose that the blindness was kind of symbolic of the isolation. She was already kind of isolated. She's even more isolated. And then, like, I guess there's a big theme of isolation, because when she finds out that, like, even when she was with Nobu, she was kind of just isolated from Nobu because he was, like, never there. Antonio was also isolated in his own way, and they kind of find each other in spite of the isolation. That's, I guess, the theme of the whole movie, and I guess the blindness is kind of symbolic of it. Otherwise, it's just kind of a device. Like, it was kind of sweet in a sense that she got to see and she saw him for the first time. Super sad that he died, like right after she got to see. Um, but and then there's a cute thing where like he wished for her to see again, so that was kind of cool. Um, One of the best things about this really was this. So my favorite scenes were when they're counting to 10. Pretty much it's a whole letter with Tonyo. So that's when he's counting to 10. But Leia's kind of counting to 10 as in like with Nobu, and for every number it kind of like it parallels what she did. Like my first this, we did this 2 times, we did that 3 times, I felt this way 4 times, or so on until she reaches 10. I thought that was one of the um, like more interesting things that they did with this movie. I guess just to it really got to show the past between her and Nobu, for example, uh, and just kind of how things kind of ended up the way they did. And Tonyo's kind of the same way. Tonyo honestly kind of had the better story here. Um, he was heartbroken in Tokyo. He had a bottle of Sapporo beer and just went to Sapporo. You know, he just had a better story. Or more interesting story. Sees Leia, kind of stalks her though, but like, he's into her. He's the one that sent her to the beer house and whatnot, and eventually, he saw the story while doing like the count thing, count to 10 thing that Leia was doing early in the movie. So that was kind of cool too. Um, there are like little things in this movie that kind of had like this loose end. Like, why does he like cabbage so much? Oh, because she kept sending him cabbage when he was a drunkard. You know, little things like that. Who's the guy in the banana seat? Oh, it was Tonyo. Oh, okay. How did she get flowers? That one day, or something like that. So that they were good at kind of covering their bases, with what they had. So, um, overall, fun movie. Like I said, uh, Empoy Marquez's performance turned an otherwise good movie, good at best movie, into, in my opinion, a very good movie. Um, if it weren't for him, like I said, I mean, it's a romantic comedy. You know what I mean, with some drama in there. But like, if he wasn't there and acted the way he did and played the part the way he did, it would just be like a sad romantic comedy. Yeah, romantic comedy with like a sad moment that happens. Um, but it wouldn't be atypical of any other romantic comedy per se. There's some really good romantic comedies, but I think his performance really put it like, higher than it probably, in a sense, had any right to be, really. Because, like I said, they didn't have much to work with. They paddle in uh, in the river. And they're just like talking and whatnot. And he's trying to flirt with her. Or they're on the train, or they're walking, or having a bike ride. It's not. It wasn't like anything. It wasn't a third wheel per se. Nobu doesn't come back. Or anything like that. It was actually just it was pretty simple. And maybe there's, I guess like beauty in the simplicity in it, of the whole thing too. It's a pretty simple story in a sense too. Nothing too crazy. I mean, the big twist was he died, you know. But otherwise, it wasn't like, and like I guess anything too crazy, or like anything. They're not. I don't think they really reinvented the wheel with like romantic comedies with this or anything like that. But you don't need to. I I don't find a need to always reinvent the wheel. It's romantic comedy. Boy meets girl. They fall in love. Stuff happens. I mean, really, that's kind of like romantic comedies. So, yeah, that's all for today. If you like this, don't forget to subscribe, share, and comment to this channel if you're on YouTube, or follow, share, and comment on this channel if you're listening to this on SoundCloud. If you're listening to this on iTunes or Stitcher, please rate, review, and share this channel. Thank you for listening to this movie review. Next time, I will have a manga review for Kobato Volumes 5 and 6, a list of the top villain pairs in the Batman universe, a movie review for Batman and Harley Quinn, and it's a picture journal of the Long Beach Comic Con. Thank you, and until next time.